Yo guys, I'm HP, this is Dr. Pink, and here we're going to talk about advanced smooth jazz guitar concepts. Sounds complicated, sounds hard, probably it is, but I'm going to give you some ideas how to build up a really cool concept. But first, let's music speak so you can see or hear what can be expected just from the concept. A really simple track that we can really focus on the concept. And so on and so on. So the main topic of today's tutorial is to get into a concept which allows you to start to improvise in an advanced manner on smooth jazz and not just playing pentatonic stuff and like 2 or 3 licks you learned. That's always cool to know, but it's really better to have a concept together which allows you to really improvise on the fly. And you probably already know I always do colors, get into this really relaxed and chilly vibe and just let music flow. But therefore you need to have your concept together, because if the bass is not there, you will probably hit a few wrong notes. So let's get started. Okie dokie. So when we want to talk about a concept, you have to always put things into priority. First priority is, in fact, to know the progression of the tune, which is in this case really simple. I created a backing track for you guys, which is still in an easy tempo where you're not, too much overwhelmed by the tempo, and gives you a really simple chord progression, and therefore you start following the chords. So therefore you also need a chord progression which is really simple. I'll show you. D minor 7 to D minor 7, or back to G minor 7, back to D minor 7, back to G minor 7, and now comes the final phrase to A7 sharp 13, flat 13, and then the whole thing starts all over again. Sorry, it was A7 flat 13, this one here. So now we have a simple chord progression. First thing you need to do, make your analysis. What is going on here? You need to find out the key. It's quite simple. It's D minor. And now the progression, if you want to put it into the steps of the progression, it's 1. It's 1 in D minor. So that's first we have Aeolian. G minor 7 is 4. That's Dorian. And last but not least, A7 is 5. That's a classic 1-4-5 progression in minor, but a little bit turn around. It starts on 4, goes back to 1, to 4, to 1, to 4, to 5, and then it starts all again on the 4. That's the only little challenge, but it's a classic 1-4-5 progression. So it's not such a big brainer if you're already a little bit into modes. That means on the 1, I already said, we're gonna play Aeolian, D minor Aeolian. And if you want to play freely, or if you want to reach the goal of playing freely, you need to say goodbye a little bit to your pentatonic. You know, pentatonic is cool, Of course you can, I mean, I can tell you, you can play D minor pentatonics over the entire tune, or you can play D minor blues scale over the entire tune, and it will work. I quickly show you. It's not such a problem. It really works, but you want to go to the next level, and if you want to go to the next level, you need to start rethink the guitar. When you're coming from the, if you're doing advanced smooth jazz guitar concepts, you probably know all pentatonic positions, all 5, okay? So that helps a little bit with the orientation, because the 5 pentatonic positions, they cover the whole sorry, the whole fretboard. But when we're going to modes, we can take the pentatonic positions, you know, like as a hook, to set up the whole thing. I explain you how. We have in the D minor pentatonics, we have pattern number 1. That's probably the most common one you guys know, and which is the one which is played all the time. Now you put in the Aeolian mode into this pattern, okay? But then it's suddenly, now you noticed that I've been doing 3 note per string. It has a reason. I will come back in a second. So we're taking position 1, Aeolian, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. That's Aeolian. And we're taking position 4 of the pentatonics, which will be here. And here we're playing Aeolian again, but again as 3 note per string. Okay. Now, why are we doing 3 note per string? We want to make our life as easy as possible. Why? Because we also want to have some fun, go to the lake, surf a bit, and if you know these 2 patterns I just showed really good and really well, then as you notice, this position covers the D minor Aeolian scale from here till here. So we already have quite a big part of the fretboard, and here we start with the other one. And if we continue till up here, we cover from here till here. And wow, what a surprise! Here our prior pattern starts again. So with only 2 patterns you cover the entire fretboard, and you don't need 5. You can use the 5 pentatonic positions, which help you to somehow don't get lost in the whole thing first, but later on you don't need them anymore. Okay? So you have 2 positions which cover the entire fretboard. Now comes a trick. Now we jump between chords. So on the D minor 7, from the theory it's Aeolian. On the G minor 7, from the theory it's Dorian, which is quite similar. Now we have the same thing again. We use either this position here, which is, now here we're going to play literally the same pattern, just with one exception. When we count to 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and out of the flat 6 we make 6, and now we have Dorian. If it's too fast for you, don't worry, you guys. I'm gonna write down the stuff for you, and it's gonna be available in the HPCrazy Guitar Academy. And by the way, if you have any questions, you know, to get deeper into the topic, the theory, there's a place you can ask. And please become a premium member in order to support the work which me and Dr. Pink are doing for the community. So we have Dorian here, and again, this covers from here till here. Now we are here. Here's the G again. Oh wow! Here we can do the same thing again. We take the pattern from prior, from the D minor, replace the flat 6 through a 6, and wow! Here we have G minor Dorian. And now we have the entire thing here. Okay, that's really cool. Now, what shall we do with the A7? The classics mode which is used on the A7 is Phrygian natural 3. To understand where it comes from, if you're on 1, 4, 5 in minor, 5 would be Phrygian, and Phrygian again. When we can take the same thing again as before, okay? Now we make A minor. We see it as a minor and see Phrygian, and now the difference between Aeolian and Phrygian is just one note. We replace the 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, flat 6, the 2 with a flat 2, and the rest remains the same. We do the same thing again. And then we have Phrygian here, and the same thing here. It covers from here till here, and here we do Phrygian in the high position. Okay, and now we have it here. If you want to, if it's already too hard for you, you can play Phrygian over the A7. It's not wrong, it's not completely correct, but at least you can do something there if you want. If you make it completely correct, then you play Phrygian natural 3. And the name is already saying it. What you have to do, you take 1, flat 2, flat 3, and make the flat 3 a natural 3, 1, flat 2, 3. This gives this really famous gap here, though. And now we have Phrygian natural 3, and covers again perfectly this entire space here, and the same up here. Replace the flat 3 with the 3. So, and that's the grade which you first need to learn if you want to play freely on this material, if you want to get into advanced playing, okay? As I said, you can do, to make it not too hard, you can take what you already have. In this case, you take the, most of you guys play D minor blues over this. And then on specific spots, let's take the A7, we play A7 Phrygian natural 3, and before we just play D minor blues, and we mix it up, and it just gives an extra element. I'm going to show you. So we started with G minor. Now attention, now it comes. it comes through, now it comes again. Now it comes. See, and it gives you an extra color, even you were playing D minor blues scale all the time. Okay, so when you want to build up your advanced abilities on smooth jazz or on jazz in general, you take what you have. Most guys of you come from pentatonic playing, and then you build up and try to take the specific spot out, and then you try to get in there. But the line of priority, of course, is first you need to know the form, which the progression at the beginning, progression. Know the theory, what comes where. That's what I was explaining, the whole thing at the beginning. What you can do, you need to know your patterns, and you can, I can tell you these 3 upper string patterns on each chord are enough to cover the whole thing in combination with your pentatonic patterns which you already have. It works really well. And then you start using this. The biggest task, in fact, is that you always know where you are. You know, that's the main topic. And you know, last but not least, and I wanna don't take it too far today. I could speak for 3 more hours on this topic, but I don't want to make it too hard for you guys. The next thing will be that you start to learn, and even I'm not really a lick player, but you need to learn a few basic licks which help you to understand how you use modes in a smooth jazz setting. And one thing which is always cool, just as a first example, is you play it, in this case a D minor 9 arpeggio. Let's do it like this. D minor 7 arpeggios like this, and the 9 is here, and we keep it in the position of the pattern. Or you can also do it here in the other position. Then you can move the whole thing to the G minor, it's the same, or here. And now you try to mix the whole thing up quite tasty with what you already have, and on the A7 you try to put in your pretty natural 3 run. So let's try this, and then it will be, I think then it's enough for today. That was advanced smooth jazz guitar concept, starting from the beginning. It always is the same set of priorities. You figure out a tune. First you make the theoretical analysis. What's going on? Which chord progression? Which mode is played on which chord? And smooth jazz is a little bit more easy because it refers quite a lot. I mean, if you take simple tracks as this one here, and I really did it simple on purpose, in a tempo on purpose, which makes it easier for you guys to learn, you know. I mean, some tracks are faster, and then it gets technical, and probably not everybody has the time to practice so much to get on that technical level to play really wild stuff on faster tracks. That's another topic which we're going to talk about in another tutorial, of course. But to open up the topic of advanced smooth jazz guitar, That's how it works, and start to rethink your patterns on the guitar. I know I've seen so many students, I can tell, I would say 98% of all students which I've seen till now who came and wanted to play smooth jazz said, I cannot hear pentatonic anymore. And of course it's obvious, because it's boring after a while. You cannot always play pentatonic. It's cool sometimes, and once you're getting into it, or you start getting into this stuff here, then you use pentatonic as a retro vibe. You know, you want to throw it into show. I'm going back to the good old times where I only could play pentatonics, and then it gets a complete different approach than when you can only play pentatonics. And the way to start getting away from this basic approach is to change your mindset. And that's what today's tutorial is about. Change your mindset and start to rethink your patterns. You know, see the pentatonic patterns and not try to figure only on the chord, only on the mode, and try to get your orientations as showed with only 2 patterns. You cover the entire fretboard. You don't need more, I promise. You really don't need more together with the pentatonic patterns, and you're going to have total control of the entire fretboard, but you need to change your mindset, and that's what is the first part of the journey here, stepping into advanced smooth jazz concepts. So it's the first, change the mindset and rethink the guitar, the guitar geographics. And then it's going to start to get really cool, and you start to learn a few licks, you know, just to get an idea. I can use modes. Most of the people think you just play them up and down, as I just showed, but that's not, honestly, that's not the way as it's used in a cool manner, but you need to start somewhere. And as I said, we are working on the mindset now, and to change the mindset. Good. I know the tutorial was probably a bit tough, a bit theoretical, but still some fun. Try to work it out with the backing track. Seriously, it always has to be connected with music, what you learn in theory, you know. Try to always, while you play, to have your set of priorities going on. You always need to know where you are, always be in the groove, and then know which chord is played, which mode, and then hear what you play. There's a lot before you even play a note, which already has to be on in line, okay? And that's why mindset is a really important thing, especially in smooth jazz or jazz. Smooth jazz is a little bit more easy because the chord progressions are not so complicated, but still, I know it from my students. It's quite a brainer when you start to change your mindset. So that's what we're talking about here today. I'm gonna write down the patterns which I was talking about before. I'm gonna make them as available as Guitar Pro or PDF, plus this backing track, that you can start working with this material and try to always start to get into music immediately. Always try to connect it musically, but never forget the row in the priorities. What is first? And interestingly, if you have so many things to do before you can even play one note, then you notice that when you just play one note with the whole set of priorities which you first have to fulfill, then you probably doesn't need more, you know, as an example. I know exactly what I was doing. You know, I could write them as I just played, and you guys could play that, but then you miss the main part of the story. You need to learn the mindset, and that's something that is really important if you want to be creative on your own. And of course it's harder, but at the end it's going to be way more satisfying than just playing a few simple notes. You know, Miles Davis was really a cool guy. He could play stuff just 3 notes at the exact right spot where he wanted it, but he had the whole mindset of the thing going on, you know, and he was pre-hearing what he wanted to play. And in this mindset, then you start to pre-hear what you want to play. Then suddenly this one note comes exactly where it has to come, and that's what it's about. So start working on it, and it's a long journey, I can tell. It's really a long journey. That's why always embed it in music, because it has to be fun, embedded in what you're already able to do, and always improve, learn, add more, and then it's going to be really fun. And me and Dr. Pink are here for you guys, plus the guitar. HPCrazy Guitar Academy, as I already said, everything is available there for download for premium members. If you want to start the journey with me and Dr. Pink and continue the journey, if you have any questions on this topic, there's the place to ask. There I can give you really professional advice and tips, and probably give you little examples. For premium members, that's not a problem. And yeah, do it. Me and Dr. Pink are saying goodbye, and if you love this channel, please share to the world that me and Dr. Pink are existing, and also the Academy. Support the Academy, because with your help the Academy can thrive and grow, and this is also for your personal benefit. Okay, see you guys.